What's up, Clipper Nation? And welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. We're starting off the show a little bit different today. We're kind of trying to change up the mood. I mean, the Clippers are a little bit in a rut, so we are announcing our giveaway for the month of December, the 8 games of Clipmas, where we will be doing a giveaway, giving away sweatshirts, maybe even a little bit something else for each Clipper win this month. The Clippers haven't been doing too well.
Who knows? Who knows if we'll get any?
So we'll see. But we're trying to keep the spirits high. We're in the giving mood. We're in the Christmas Clipmas spirit. Make sure everyone goes to their Clip Sunday service.
Yes, I like that.
You get the fun?
I get it. Rola's cooking right now.
But yeah, we wanted to make sure that everyone's in a good mood at the very least, and in that Christmas spirit, and gets to rock some Clip Service merch. But anyways, on with the podcast. I'm Rola. That's my co-host Nick. Don't forget to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, and YouTube, and Twitter, and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. Let us get right into it.
Let's get right at Rolla. Just speed round there. What's up, guys? Yeah, we're the Clip Service Pod, and we're pretty sad overall. Yeah. What's your vibe, Rolla? Like, how are you feeling, generally speaking, around this team? Because I mean, I think I already know the answer, but let's just hear it. Let's hear it from your mouth now.
I think if I were stranded in the middle of the forest jungle, being mauled by a bear, it would hurt less than what the Clippers have done to me.
That's so true.
Recently.
That's so true.
So
it feels like a bear attack.
Yeah.
The Clippers right now feel like a bear attack.
Yeah. Have you seen that movie, The Revenant, with Leonardo DiCaprio?
You know, I haven't. I know I'm a fake fan, but
in that movie, he gets mauled by a bear pretty badly.
I do know that. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, guys, I would imagine that everybody listening to this probably feels the same way. Unless you're not a Clipper fan, then you're probably not bothered at all. Because every team in the league, besides, maybe the Pelicans and like the Wizards and like the lowly Mavericks, every team seems to be doing well, overachieving, playing at least like solid basketball. We got a lot of young cores that are kind of like up and coming, and it just like that exacerbate, like, I mean, that's obviously a very small component, but that whole thing exacerbates this Clippers slump as well. I mean, the Clippers are like the oldest team in the league, and you look around and you look at, the Pistons are running shit in the East. You obviously got the Oklahoma City Thunder. You have teams like the Portland Trailblazers, the Suns. I'm trying to think of who else. There's a lot of really young teams that are making a name for themselves, and even though their record might not show it, there's a sense of optimism around a lot of teams in the league. And then you look at the Clippers, and the Clippers do not own their own draft capital going into this offseason. They're old. They're there's just defeat all throughout the franchise. We have the aspiration thing that's pending that we have to look forward to when they come to a verdict on that. We obviously have the on-court product with this team. Lawrence Frank and Ty Lue are in the hot seat, so we would have to assume. It's just there's not much of a light at the end of the tunnel, guys. And I know I hate to be doom and gloom, but that's just the state of this team right now.
Yeah.
To sum it up, since we last talked, guys. So when we last spoke, I believe we covered, a Dallas win that went to double overtime. Then we got beat by the Boston Celtics. We got beat by the 76ers. But it was like, okay, maybe the Clippers will kind of right the ship and go on a little bit of a run. And that didn't happen. So to sum it up, the Clippers lost to the Orlando Magic, took a win against the Charlotte Hornets, which was a very fun game. We'll talk about that one as well. And then we go on to lose the next 5 games against Cleveland, Los Angeles Lakers, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Miami Heat. So we're going to just quickly, we're going to quickly go through these games because a lot of it's just the same shit. And I don't think anybody listening to this wants to hear about that. But let's get into it, guys. So the Orlando game, the Clippers lost 129-101. It was an absolute blowout by the Magic. The Clippers started out this game really well. I believe, or not really well, but they were hanging around, and the Magic have a good, strong young core. They're not a team to scoff at in any regard whatsoever. And the Clippers looked pretty good in the first half, and that's been the tale of this Clippers team throughout the entire season. It's been the Clippers hanging tough in the first half. Halftime happens, and the Clippers look like a completely different team in the third and fourth quarters. Specifically the third, where the Clippers really tend to fall apart and kind of can't recover. In this one, the starters got pulled pretty early. The Clippers were down 83-66 in the third at one point, and the Magic were just out hustling the Clippers at every every step of the way in that second half. I mean, to put it in perspective, Yannick Niederhauser played a pretty significant amount of minutes in this second half. Clippers start the fourth 105-79, and it was just downhill from there. Rola, did you have anything on this one that you wanted to touch on, or?
No, it's I watched all the games this week and last week and all the losses. To be honest, I don't really have too much to say. It's like you said, it's pretty much
just in general thing,
yeah. Where it seems like the first half the Clippers won it, and the second half they kind of just run out of gas, and then that's that. But yeah, in this Magic game, I don't have anything to say. We were just getting blown out. That's pretty much it.
Perfect. Moving on to the Charlotte Hornets game, a game in which the Clippers won. This game I wanted to talk a little bit about because this was, an important game just because there hasn't been a lot to celebrate this season. In this game, Harden goes for 55. The Clippers kind of had control of this one throughout the game. Chris Paul played some first quarter minutes. This was a start in which Chris Paul was starting to get his minutes back. He was getting DMPs for a while. Chris Paul also, I think before this game, announced that he was going to officially be retiring after this season. Chris Paul's decline this season has obviously been very apparent. I said it before the season started. I'm just glad to have Chris Paul back. I know that it was pretty much set in stone that Chris Paul would retire after this year, but it wasn't official until before this game. It was kind of fitting, Chris Paul being from North Carolina. So he kind of started getting his minutes ramped up starting with this game. And he was, he looked okay in this game to start. But it's just, that to me is like one of the biggest things. One of the biggest disappointments, aside from, just the fact that the Clippers have sucked, is like Chris Paul coming home, and we were expecting for him to be a contributor on this team and be like, the de facto backup point guard, to be that safety net for James Harden when James Harden goes to the bench. And so that was made official before this game. Go ahead.
Can I say something really quick?
Mm-hmm.
The other day, Chris Paul posted on his story on Instagram, and he posted the word leeway and the definition, the amount of freedom to move or act that is available.
We're at the point where players are subtweeting and subposting about this team.
But I'm connecting that to like your comments on Chris Paul being like a little bit older and showing his age. And I'm wondering if that is because he doesn't feel comfortable really kind of balling out the way he's used to. He doesn't really have the freedom to, I guess, go off. It does seem like he hit like a very sharp decline.
It's just so odd because like last year he started all 82 games. He looked like he showed a little bit of a decline, but like he was still a NBA rotation player.
Yeah, so
it's just so odd.
It makes me wonder if, he just doesn't feel comfortable or doesn't feel motivated to actually play to his full capabilities. That's all I have.
I think that's a factor. I think that he started out the season not getting the reps that he was used to. The last time that he came off the bench, I think, was with the Golden State Warriors, and had some success. Yeah, he had some success in that stop, but you can definitely see a difference when Chris Paul comes off the bench as opposed to when he starts. And I think that kind of sealed the deal. I think that he wasn't able to get his normal reps. Obviously, he's a very ball dominant player. And I think that really exacerbated his age. And then from that point, the Clippers were so desperate for wins and so desperate for competent role players that he couldn't really recover and couldn't, find his groove again. But the whole Chris Paul thing is really pretty sad. Just from a Clippers lifer, and it just sucks. But the good thing to talk about in this game was the fact that Harden went for 55. The Clippers were only up 5 at the half in this one, but they really, kind of took control, regained control in that third quarter and ran away with it. This was a great game from James Harden. 55 points from the beard, 11 for 14 from the free throw line, which, even when he has off nights, he does tend to get to the line, with regularity, which is good. Only 2 turnovers, 7 assists. Really looked to score the ball in this game. Not really going to go down the box score in this one, but James Harden, was the bright spot, obviously, with 55. And I think after this game, he was the only player in NBA history to set a franchise record for 2 different franchises. Obviously the Rockets and then now the Clippers with 55. So that was pretty cool. It gave us a glimmer of hope, and then that was completely dashed after that. As I mentioned before, the Clippers lost 5 in a row after that. So the next game is against the Cavs. In this game, and then plenty of games after this, the big takeaway for me was the lack of bench scoring, the lack of contribution on offense from the rotation players. I believe I think it was at halftime the disparity between bench points was 6 to 22. Clippers were only down 7 at that point. Kawhi did return in this one from a 10-game absence. The leading scorer in this one was Zoo. Donovan Mitchell kind of had his way with the Clippers defense in that second half. He ended up finishing the game with 37. I mean, at the end of the game, I believe the bench differential didn't get any better. It was 29-9 bench point differential. The Clippers went on a little bit of a run late, but it didn't matter, and the final score was 120-105. So obviously with the Cavs, you expect them to be a very good team. They're obviously a contender in the East. They have a very good home record with 8-3. So it was going to be a tough game, but again, with how the Clippers have been playing, you kind of can't take those moral victories and say, hey, this is a good Cavs team. The Clippers took the loss. The fact of the matter is the Clippers took yet another loss when they were really starving for one. At that point, they had only had 5 wins on the season. And again, it's just, more of the same from the Clippers. The following game stung pretty bad just because of who we were playing. Following game was at Staples Center against the crosstown rivals, the Los Angeles Lakers. This one was particularly heartbreaking because I would say that the Clippers played a really good game through about 3 quarters of this one. It was a back and forth effort. Clippers were only down 3 at halftime, and Luka had 32 at the half. So again, it was kind of like that Nuggets game from earlier in the season where the Clippers managed to stay within striking distance after the star player goes off in the fashion that, Luka and Jokic and those players do. 32 from Luka at the half, which is insane. This was the first game in which Brook Lopez was starting to get DMPs, didn't play the entirety of this one. Obviously understandable because Brook Lopez has been a sloth on defense and on offense all season long. But yeah, this one sucked because the Clippers really had a chance to win this one. And then in the fourth quarter, the defense completely falls apart. There was a scuffle at the end of the game between Chris Dunn and Luka Doncic. Chris Dunn gives Luka a little bit of a push, and Luka goes flying, flopping into LeBron, gets up, gets in Chris Dunn's face. Chris Dunn pushes the ball into Luka. Jackson Hayes comes from behind Chris, pushes him. Chris throws a punch that didn't connect, and Chris Dunn gets ejected from the game. At that point, the game was kind of already over, but It was just a sign of the frustration that is just very apparent from this Clipper team. And being in the Laker home court, it was just exacerbated. The fans got into it. This one was rough for that reason. I know, Rola, you and me kind of had a discussion on this one. I want you to kind of touch on that.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
So for me, the biggest problem about this game was we didn't come out with the passion and the aggression that we usually come out with in a game against the Lakers. I mean, this is a Lakers team that won a championship in the same year that we got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And they are already back onto the next cycle, onto the next dynasty, led by Luka, who you said had, right, you said 36 at half, 34 at half. So it's kind of frustrating. 32 at half. So it's a little bit frustrating as a fan to not see this Clippers team come out fucking mad. Like, this is the Lakers team. Like, we played in the same building for the longest time. We were in the shadow of the Lakers. We're in the same city. Like, I don't give a fuck how bad the Clippers are. We need to come out and fight against the Lakers every single time we see their jersey. And I didn't get that energy from the Clippers at all until that Chris Dunn scuffle at the end of the game, at which point it was way too late. I'm sorry. It makes me wonder what the game plan was for this game. For Luka to have had that many points to start off that hot. They all, I think Ty Lue's always said with Luka, like Jokic and those types of players, we want to make them one-dimensional. In this game, we didn't do shit. He had 9 boards and 13 assists and 43 points. I mean, the dude was 1 rebound away from a 40-point triple-double. And I'm just wondering, like, what are they doing on their off days? What is the team doing when they know that the Lakers are coming up? Are you going over tape? Are you watching tape? Is there a game plan to stop Luka? Is there a game plan to stop LeBron, who had 25 points? Is there a game plan to stop Austin Reeves, who had 31 points? So it's a little bit frustrating to me, and it makes me a little disappointed almost in all of the players on our team, just because, like, we know that the Clippers aren't usually going to get the energy from Kawhi. So I'm wondering, like, who that guy is to give the energy to the team is. But just,
I mean, normally I would say that it's Chris Dunn, but the problem with Chris Dunn, who is actually really good in this game, 19 points from Chris Dunn, 8 for 13 from the field, good offensively, brings the effort on defense, got into that that scrum with Luka Doncic, showed some fight there. But the problem is, normally on most nights, Chris Dunn has been such a non-factor on offense that you kind of really can't count on him to be anything more than a defensive pest, which he's amazing at, and an energy guy. But at this point, the Clippers need, someone that can show energy from a scoring standpoint too. And those are the guys that, I mean, James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and Zoo, who's been underwhelming all season, in my opinion. Those are the guys that you need to count on to be able to give you those buckets to revitalize this team. And we haven't been getting it consistently.
Exactly.
From anyone other than James Harden.
And dude, like when I go back, like I think back to previous Clippers Lakers matchups. I think back to that Paul George, a Kawhi team where we had Pat Bev, who is like constantly chirping at the Lakers, constantly poking at them, like poking the bear, like making yelling, doing something like to make it a rival type of game, to increase that level of play for his team and honestly for the other team, because we want to see both teams playing at their best and battling at their best as fans. Like I'm a fan of basketball and a fan of the Los Angeles Clippers, so I want to see both teams playing at the highest level. But I just felt like, dude, watching this game, man, I just felt like everything was flat. Even in the first half, like even though we were, it was close, it just felt like, okay, we usually have more energy. It feels like the Lakers are going to turn it on at some point because it was a home game for them. Like, I don't really see how we win this game without like starting hack Luka. We know he's a hothead. Hack him. Take a foul. It's okay. Hack Austin Reeves and take one foul. Like it's not going to be the end of the world. And so that's the thing that just like genuinely pissed me off, dude. Like I feel like we don't have someone on the, and I know you said it's usually Chris Dunn, but like I feel like we don't have someone on the team that is willing to like be
that jolt
shit, bro. Be that jolt. Be someone that will provide energy to the game. And I mean, we saw after Luka got pushed by Chris Dunn, who was it? Jackson Hayes came through and pushed the fuck out of Chris Dunn. And I'm wondering, like, who's that guy for us? Like, who's pushing Luka?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who's doing? Like, who's that enforcer? Who's providing that energy, that type of protection for the Clippers? Like, this team is, to me, is so poorly constructed and led that it's just like it's. These types of games we're just not going to win this season, man. And it's like sad to recognize that, to realize
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough because like you're in such a deep hole at this point if you're the Clippers, and everybody from the coaching staff to the front office all the way down to Cam Christie, the guy, like the lowest guys on the rotation, they all feel the frustration. You can see it.
Yeah.
And so it's I can understand that it's really hard to manufacture that will and that want to believe that you can win. But at this point, I mean, like the Clippers have had what's the current record?
It's 5.
The Clippers have had a quarter of a season to do that, and it's like it's got to happen at some point. I love the point that you make, like where is that energy going to come from, and where do you manufacture that energy? Because if you keep hanging your head, you have to assume that you're going to keep losing these games. I do think like I said, I hate to be doom and gloom, but I do think that it's safe to say that this season's pretty cooked. So I think that the players see the writing on the wall, and so there's like no real sense of urgency. Because the Clippers are so down bad. I mean, the Clippers are currently 5-16. Like the Clippers have a better chance of being, 7-20 before they even touch 500. I don't know where that comes from at this point in the season, but yeah, this Laker game was really, really frustrating. I think, unfortunately, the more frustrating games came at the back-to-back that followed, which was the first game was against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies were pretty shorthanded, obviously did not have Ja Morant. We're missing, some key players. And the Clippers, again, started out this game, started out 9-0, looked really aggressive. We're up 13 points at the half. Kawhi had 18. James had 17. And then again, once again, in the third quarter, the Grizzlies started to chip away.
Yep.
And then, before you know it, with 4 minutes left in the game, the Grizzlies are up 103-95. The Clippers blow a 16-point lead and lose to the Grizzlies without their best player. Games like that, when you're up 13 at the half, more to your point, Rola, like those are the games where you need that energy player to say, "Hey guys, we're up. Let's continue to pour it on. Let's put our foot on the neck. We need a win really badly. Let's go ahead and get this win." And instead, just like every game seemingly this season, the Clippers come out with a lackadaisical approach after halftime,
Yep.
and there's no fight. It's like the first half didn't even happen, and the Clippers lose. Jaren Jackson had 24 points. The Kawhi Leonard ended up having 39 in this one, but and James Harden had 23. But then again, like if you look down the rest of the roster, Ivica Zubac had 9 points with 12 rebounds. Nico Batum 2 points, Chris Paul 5 points, Kobe Brown 5 points, Kobe Sanders 3 points. Like there's like nobody's stepping up to like take the initiative. Right. And we know that Kawhi Leonard, leads by example. He's very quiet and stuff like that. Again, had 39 points in this one. But like, where's that extra jolt of energy coming from? And the Clippers didn't see that in this one. This was the last game that I watched before the Mavs game. I was hosting a Friendsgiving the entire day, the following game on Saturday. So I really wasn't able to watch this game until the very end. And boy, was I upset that I turned that game on.
Yep.
So, did you have anything to talk about in the Memphis game, Rola, before I get into the Dallas game?
No.
So
it was pretty much the same.
Fair.
We played pretty much the same game against the Grizzlies.
It was the same game, but arguably, or not even arguably, but worse. The Clippers were missing Anthony Davis. We're missing D'Angelo Russell. We're missing, who else were they missing? They were missing like three of their starters in this one. Cooper Flagg, the rookie, goes for 35. Klay Thompson, who's 70 years old, goes for 23 points. Mm-hmm. The Clippers, I like I said, I didn't watch this one, but the Clippers, another game where the Clippers led and get beat by a team that they had no business losing to.
Yep.
And it's just, again, I know it's a second night of a back-to-back after taking a tough loss where you gave away a lead. But currently, as it stands, the Dallas Mavericks have a better record than the Clippers. And we know what happened to the Dallas Mavericks. Like, this is a team that should be floundering, and they're doing better than the Clippers. It's just awful. That's all I have to say about that one. I didn't even watch that one. The game that I did watch was this game against the Miami Heat. It was the first game of a 5-game road trip. Clippers go into Miami. It's the second time seeing former Clipper Norman Powell, who we know what he can do. He can get it going in a hurry, and that's exactly what he did in this one. Norman Powell ended up finishing the game with 30 points. The one thing that I will say about this game is that the Miami Heat were absolutely nuclear from three. Some of them were open, a lot of them were wide open, but the Heat were hitting. I mean, I think they play at the fastest pace in the league, so they were playing really fast, but they were hitting an absurd amount of threes. I'm just going to go down the line real quick. 2 for 3 from Andrew Wiggins, 5 for 8 from Bam Adebayo, 6 for 10 from Norman Powell, 4 for 4 from Davion Mitchell, a guy that doesn't normally shoot threes. Davion Mitchell was perfect from the field in this game. 6 for 6, 4 for 4 from 3. Tyler Hero with 4 threes. Drew Smith with 1. Pele Larson with 1. 1 from Simone Fontecchio. Like, they were absolutely detonating on the Clippers from distance, and the Clippers couldn't find a way to get back into this. Well, I'll take that back. So the Clippers were down almost 40 points in this one, which is just insane. The Ty Lue, I don't know if this is. I'll touch on this after we get through the synopsis of this game. But Ty Lue decides to put the starters back in the game. I think at the end of the third, Kawhi Leonard went insane the end of the third and throughout the fourth. I think the Clippers pulled within like 11 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah,
like it was starting to get really interesting. Kawhi Leonard ended up finishing the game with 36. James Harden was awful in this game. Awful. 11 points from him, 5 turnovers. Didn't get to the line a ton. Zoo wasn't great in this one, 16 for 13. Again, Zoo has been playing just really lackluster basketball for the most part this season. But, Kawhi made it interesting, but again, it was more false hope. Just a horrible game. The Miami Heat put up 140 points on the Clippers. I know that we had a giveaway that we announced last episode where me and Rola said that if the Clippers won a game and held a team below 100 points, then we'd give away a sweater. So we'll talk about the sweepstakes later on in this episode, but we are completely nuking that idea because it doesn't look like that's going to happen at any point this season.
It's not.
With the way the defenses look from the Clippers, a team that led, like at one point last season, led the league in defense and were a top 5 defense last season. They've completely abandoned that and let teams like the Miami Heat, who I'm not saying that are a bad team, they're a very good team, 14-7, I believe. Very fast-paced offense, but there's no reason why you should be letting a team drop 140 on you. It's just, Rola, I need you to say something because I can't even.
Bro,
I have no more words.
I also have nothing to say. I mean, dude, like you said, 140 points.
And then we lost Jordan Miller halfway through this game too. Another injury. Like Jordan Miller played the first half of this game and then leaves the second half with a back injury. Like the injuries have sucked. It's been so shit. Like, everything's been shit.
This game to me was kind of that nail in the coffin. I think when it comes down to it, a lot of defense is like being very and like having that energy, being locked in and focused. And, you know, for a team to drop 140 points on you, it just goes to show that, dude, this team is not focused. They don't want it. I keep mentioning in previous podcasts that the Clippers, after losing this many games, they have to at some point come together and say, hey, let's have a perfect game. And they refuse to do so, dude. Like, you can talk about that win against the Hornets. James Harden dropped 55 points for us to beat the Hornets, bro. Like, what is going on? Like, I think if this Clippers team, you got Kawhi Leonard, you have James Harden, Zoo, John Collins, Chris Dunn, that starting 5 should be able to win you
like a solid starting 5 on paper. Exactly, solid team on paper.
Games. I'm sorry, dude. Like, how is this? I mean, James Harden had 11 points and he only played one half, like the first half. But like, I just don't understand how there isn't, that want to win the game from this Clippers team. To me, there's no energy. There's no focus. I keep mentioning there's no passion that I see from this team. There's no leadership. Kawhi is supposed to be the leader. We all know that Kawhi doesn't talk. So it's kind of like who's dropping the ball here? It almost seems like this team was put together without like thinking everything through. Like, who's going to be the leader? Maybe they thought James Harden was going to be the leader, or maybe they thought the coaching staff were going to really lead. But it seems like everyone has decided to take a step back almost and kind of just watch from like the stands like everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been wondering what the fuck this coaching staff has been doing, throughout the weeks in the games. Like, what is happening, bro? I don't know. It just, to me, I just don't understand how things are this bad with a team this good on paper, dude. That's all.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like this team, no matter what, this team should not be 5-16 right now. Like, you have too much theoretical talent and legitimate talent. Obviously, we've dealt with the injuries. Bradley Beal out for the season. Derek Jones out for a month and a half. Still haven't gotten to him back. Kawhi Leonard missing 10 games. James Harden having to put the team on his back. Zoo regressing for whatever reason. This team should not be this bad. It just makes no sense. And that brings me to, so we're done with the previews, thank God. Or not previews, recaps. Thank God we're done with that. Now what I want to do is what I want to talk about for the majority of this episode, for the remaining time that we have left. You mentioned a really good point, Rola, where you said this team seems like it was put together without any sense of like direction or without any sense of there wasn't any like plan really. And that brings up a point that a lot of Clipper fans that I've seen, and myself included, are asking themselves, and it's did Lawrence Frank, when constructing this team, did he put together a team that looked good on paper, and did he not really do his... I mean, if you look at it, the proof's in the pudding. Brook Lopez is out of the rotation because he's been so bad. The best Brook Lopez has looked as a Clipper was in preseason. and we had our hopes up. We thought that we were going to get prime Brook Lopez, and he's been so bad on both ends of the floor that he's been out of the rotation. He's getting DNPs. Chris Paul, who the Clippers fans were very, very excited about. I was jumping over the moon that we had Chris Paul back. I was at that press conference. It looked like it was going to be this finishing out his career with the team that he, made the biggest imprint with, and he was going to do his final last ride. And it hasn't. His regression has been very significant. The John Collins acquisition. John Collins has been okay in moments, looked a lot better off the bench than he did in the starting lineup, but he's had his defensive shortcomings that have really, really hurt the Clippers in their defensive skid as a team. And then finally with Bradley Beal got the arthroscopic surgery, whatever, I don't even know what the right term is. Yeah, whatever it is. Got the procedure in this offseason, was dealing with some nagging injuries, in his short time this season, and then ends up going out with a broken hip, which you can't predict. But it's like, was Bradley Beal in worse shape health wise than maybe we thought he was? Where it seems like there may have been a big time lack of oversight from the front office in terms of the guys that they brought in, and I wonder if that goes all the way up to the top with Steve Ballmer. I know Steve Ballmer's directive has been to put butts in the seats. Obviously, he's a businessman. He built the Clippers, this brand new stadium. It's been awesome. Intuit Dome's amazing, regardless of what the Clippers look like right now. It's been great from Steve Ballmer in that regard. But at the end of the day, he's a businessman, and I wonder if he told Lawrence Frank, put together a team that looks great on paper, and we'll see what happens. So the cards will fall where they may. And as a result, I would be remiss to say I would not be surprised if Lawrence Frank isn't in the hot seat right now. And I don't know if anything is going to happen because I know that Steve Ballmer puts a lot of faith in his brain trust, Ty Lue and Lawrence Frank. But Lawrence Frank and Ty Lue both. I mean, after that Miami game, it really felt like that. You said it earlier this episode, Rola, but that was like the nail in the coffin. There was a sense of dread after that game that you kind of can't describe. You just can only feel, and I felt it, and I know that Clipper fans felt it after that game. It was such a deflating loss. In a series of deflating losses, and I'm gonna ask you, Rola, what do you A, predict is gonna happen with this team, and B, what needs to happen? Because those are two very different things at this point.
Yeah, I'll start off with what needs to happen. What needs to happen is Steve Ballmer needs to grow some fucking balls, bro. He needs to grow some fucking
shots
balls.
fired.
No, straight up. And Steve Ballmer.
We know you're listening to this pod,
Steve Ballmer, I know you're listening, but if you have anything to say to me, you can come to my front door. You can DM me. My Instagram is Rola Aid on Instagram. DM me, or you can Venmo me. I also take messages.
That would be nice.
That's
what Steve Ballmer should do. He should Venmo every Clipper fan for what we've had to go through.
No, but on some real shit, I do think Steve Ballmer needs to grow some balls. I think he has the wrong mindset. If he is the one pulling the strings behind the scenes, because
he has to be.
One thing I really enjoy about doing these pods every week is being able to go back and see what I've said in the past. And 2 years ago, after the Clippers lost to the Mavericks, I very adamantly pushed for Kawhi to be traded, Paul George to be traded, James Harden to be traded, the coaching staff to be fired, for them to completely clean house. And for the Clippers to have gone through that experience and not to have done anything and to have brought back another team to kind of keep things going in that mediocre level of basketball. I don't want to say mediocre, but that, as the kids say, mid level of basketball into the next year. And then last year we saw, that entire year they said wait till Kawhi is healthy. Last year we saw Kawhi is healthy. Everyone was healthy. James Harden was there, and we still lost in the first round. So again, after I, as a regular dude, could see that the team is not going anywhere, we went another year of being average. We got an average ending to the season, right? Another year goes by. We got an average ending to that season. I'm honestly wondering, like, if you're a GM or if this is Steve Ballmer pulling strings, it's purely business. It's purely because he wants ticket sales, and it's purely because he wants, I don't want to say more money, but he wants to be successful that's what it business-wise. Yeah. I just pulled up his net worth. Steve Ballmer is worth $148.1 billion. So it makes me wonder, like, you mentioned that Steve Ballmer very much kind of leaves things to his to the coaching staff and wants to trust the coaching staff, wants to trust the GM. He's got to grow some fucking balls, bro. Grow some fucking balls and find replacements. Like, it's we're already at rock bottom.
Steve Ballsmer
is
what they should call him.
Exactly. We're already at rock bottom, dude. Honestly, today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, the day after we lost to the Miami Heat, where Miami scored 140 points. And I'm genuinely confused how I did not get a fucking notification or news that someone wasn't fucking fired today. How is that possible? With what we've seen this season, how is it possible that people are performing significantly below average at their job? We are one of the worst teams in the NBA with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard on the roster, and there are people that still have their fucking jobs. Steve Ballmer has got to grow some balls, or whoever's running the fucking show has got to grow some balls and release these dudes and change something, bro. We just played the Lakers last week. They are on their next fucking move, bro. How are we still holding on to Kawhi and James Harden and Ty Lue? And it's not gonna work. I'm sorry, and someone's got to say it, dude. One thing I always say is the Clipper fans have got to be like the Lakers fans. And recently I've been seeing that shit.
I don't want to do that.
Because Clipper fans have been calling for the fucking firing of Ty Lue, for the firing of Lawrence Frank. And that needs to happen immediately. Clipper fans, if you're listening, all the Clipper fans listening to this podcast, continue pushing. It will happen at some point. There will be some sort of change. Steve Ballmer, please grow some fucking balls and get rid of these people. Make a change. It's okay. The Intuit Dome is in the middle of LA. People will come, even if the team is bad. We will be good at some point. Again, people want to play. These NBA players want to play in LA. They will want to play for the Clippers. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we will have a decent team again. Start it now, dude. I'm sorry. It does. If you make a couple extra million this year, that literally has no impact on your net worth. Get the fuck rid of these people, bro. Like, that's all I gotta say, Nick. I'm sorry.
No.
What was the second part of your question?
So I was basically the question was, what do you predict will happen, and what do you think needs to happen? So you very thoroughly covered what needs to happen.
So what I predict.
What do you think will happen?
What I predict will happen, and again, I hope I'm wrong, but what I predict will happen based off of how the last 2 years have gone is Ty Lue and Lawrence Frank will continue on with the rest of the season, and then hopefully something happens in the offseason. But honestly, if I'm being pessimistic, I'm just going to assume that this shit is going to carry on until I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Yeah, so normally I would agree with you, actually. I would say that that the Clippers will stand pat and hold out. They've made it very clear that they're prioritizing cap space, not only this offseason, but specifically the offseason of 2027. But with how bad the Clippers have looked and with how heavy each of these losses feels and just the disposition of every player on the court and with Ty Lue and just the frustration just down the board, I would not be surprised if something happens soon. I'm not saying it is. I don't have any sources on that, but I would not be surprised if something happens soon. Now, it's not even a counter, but the thing that I've thought about, kind of in contrast to what you're saying in terms of just tearing it all down kind of prematurely, as opposed to waiting until the offseason, tearing it down right now. I've looked at the past, going all the way back to Lob City. And this Clippers team, and I know that there's a focus, and maybe this isn't true, but it's a thought in my head, that this Clippers team has always had to compete with the Lakers. They're in the same city. This is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, sports franchise of all time, or American sports franchise of all time. You looked at it post Lob City. Lob City was never able to win anything. And then what did they do? They went and they traded Blake Griffin. They did a sign and trade with Chris Paul. They moved on, right? And their big splash was Kawhi Leonard. Now, what did they do to get Kawhi Leonard? They paired him with the star. And what did they do to pair him with the star that ended up being Paul George? You trade away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a bunch of picks. Now, going back, I still say that I would have made that trade knowing, because I don't know what I know now. If I was doing that trade, if I was the one pushing the button on that, I would have done it 10 times out of 10. We didn't know how good Shai was going to be. We knew how good Kawhi Leonard was, and we knew how good Paul George was, and the cast of role players around them. But I wonder if the pressure to be competitive in the city of LA in the Lakers' shadow causes this Clippers front office to overreact and not play the long game and do their due diligence and make sure that they're not cutting any corners, making sure that they're not trying to get instant gratification. And I wonder if tearing it down prematurely would be an overreaction like that, as opposed to waiting it out in the off season when you have cap space and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case, but I'm wondering if that could be the case, because you saw it again. You saw it as an overreaction to the shortcomings of Lob City. And then, you look at it through the 2-1-3 era. Norman Powell, and I was a proponent of trading away Norman Powell, but you see Norman Powell's shortcomings in the playoffs. What do we do? We got to get rid of him. We don't want to sign him to an extension. So what do? We go out and get John Collins, maybe without doing the vetting process of finding out if John Collins is a good fit for this Clippers team. So it's like different things like that. We went out, we needed another shooter. We go out and get Eric Gordon. We attach a pick swap that ended up being Cam Whitmore. It's like, I wonder if these rash decisions keep the Clippers from doing their research and seeing, oh shit, maybe I should hold off on doing that. So I don't know. That would be my only, I guess, counter to the point of tearing it down. But I will say, normally, Rola, I am very I tend to be more foolishly optimistic. I tend to be more foolishly optimistic, but I've reached a point with this Clippers team and at a point in this season where I have to throw my hands up and say something does need to happen. But I do, to the point that I made earlier, I do want to make sure that the Clippers aren't just frivolously tearing things apart without doing the process. For example, I think that there are a lot of young teams that would be willing to trade a first-round pick for Ivica Zubac. And Zoo has really regressed. He's been incredibly frustrating, probably the second most frustrating player on this roster. I would say that Zoo's been more frustrating than James Harden this year. And that's because I know what Zoo can do. And I know that he could get back to what he did last season, but he just hasn't showed that. So there's a chance that trading Zoo would be beneficial, but I wouldn't want to do it without doing the research and And the same thing with trading away Kawhi and trading away Harden. I understand the rationale with trading away those guys, and I think it would be good in the right situation. But I hope that this front office does their research before they do anything like that. And that leads me to my last point, Rolla, before we kind of close this out or before I hear what you have to say.
I have one more thing.
Huh?
I have one more question to ask you.
Okay, perfect. But that leads me to my last point, where I do think if we're thinking about firing anybody, we're not talking about trades, we're not talking about signings or anything like that. We're talking about firing. I do think that Ty Lue's time is probably numbered with this organization, but I do think that before you make any moves in this rebuild, and he's had some really, really great moves and really great, he's done a lot of good for this organization. But I do think before anything, you got to fire Lawrence Frank, because his shortcomings in the draft, the Clippers have not drafted well overall the last handful of years. If you don't fire Lawrence Frank and you fire Ty Lue first, who do you trust? Do you trust that Lawrence Frank is going to bring in the right coach? Do you think that Lawrence Frank is going to be able to spearhead this team into a rebuild and not just go out and sign Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan and just bring in other aging stars? Like, I think that if the Clippers make any firings, I think that needs to be the first order of business. I don't know if Bob Myers is still willing,
bro. I say fire them both like the Nuggets.
Sure. At the same time,
At the same time, baby.
But I think if it's separate, I do think that the first order of business needs to be to get a new voice in the front office, just to kind of change the direction of this team. And that's my 2 cents. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do think that something is going to happen. I don't think the Clippers are going to stand pat, because it's gotten to the point where there's no other choice. Roll, I want to hear what you got to say, and then we'll talk about.
I just had a quick question for you. Do you genuinely believe that if we shopped James Harden, Kawhi, Zoo around to the league, that we couldn't get some decent draft capital back?
I think decent draft capital, but it's like we're at the point where we're so desperate for something that we don't need. We can't even settle for decent draft capital. We have to settle, if we want to trade one of those guys away, we want to get something that's really going to stick. And I think the one thing that's kind of interesting is the Hawks are without Trae Young. Jalen Johnson's a bona fide superstar in the making, in my opinion. They're scrapping to be maybe a contender in the East. The East has probably never been this wide open or not never, but it hasn't been this wide open in a long time, right? The Hawks currently own the Pelicans' first round pick. That was a part of that Derek Queen trade, I believe. Would the Hawks be willing to acquire one of James Harden or Kawhi Leonard for that pick? Do they hold that pick with such high regard that they wouldn't want to take on a Hall of Fame level player to help them contend, whether that's alongside Trae Young or to replace Trae Young? I wonder if that would be something that they would consider. But it would have to be, to me, it would have to be a return that would be worthwhile, not just a bunch of second round picks and whatnot.
I think we could get a return that's worthwhile. I think when you look back at what the Suns did, was it that the Suns traded Kevin Durant to the Rockets, right? Yeah, and they got Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green. So I think when you see someone like Kevin Durant be traded and you see the Suns get like something of substance back, I'm thinking like, to me, like Kawhi at this point, James Harden at this point are on the level of like a Kevin Durant. I mean, like we just mentioned, James Harden just dropped 50 points the couple weeks ago. So I think that they hold a decent amount of value. I think a young team that is looking for a veteran could really use a Kawhi or James Harden. I think that if we were to truly shop them around, like you mentioned with Zoo also, I think we can get a lot back. And I think that the hesitancy to not be doing that is what's really frustrating to me. And I say that because it almost seems like we're trying to go down the path, or we're starting the season off going down the path of like, we're going to be competitive, but like everyone knows we're not winning a championship. If we're being really real, and every NBA player, every NBA fan is being honest with themselves, every NBA coach is being honest with themselves, every NBA GM is being honest with themselves, OKC is running it back again this year. They are 20-1. They've lost one game this season. They are on pace to beat the
and they own the Clippers. They own the Clippers draft.
To be honest, that's what I mean. I don't give a fuck about anything. They can have the pick. They're already gonna run shit for the next 5 years. Why don't we take that time span of the next 5 years and actually build something, so when their reign of terror is over, we can actually step into that space and be the new, you know what I mean, that new powerhouse in the NBA. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what moves we make, it doesn't matter who we have on the team, we're not beating that OKC team. Like, if we're all being real, that OKC team is so fucking good, bro. They play hard, they have young players, and like the Lakers, Clippers, Warrior, it doesn't matter. We're not beating them. So why don't we focus on the future? And that's the thing that's pissing me off, is like, it just seems like we're okay with being a first round exit every single year. And it's like why though? I'd rather be a trash team with watching young players develop than be an average team.
And I agree with you. And I think a lot of fans are ready for that. And I do think that this Clippers team, this Clippers front office, unless they're just the worst, which might be the case, but I do think that they're focusing on the future. It's just the approach at which they're going to achieve that who knows? I know that their focus is this offseason, or from what I understand, I just wonder if they're going to kickstart that at some point this season. And I think if they can get a good return, I do like the idea of moving on from our stars this season, during the season. I appreciate both what James Harden and Kawhi have done. I'm not of the camp that say that they've done nothing for this franchise. Yes, they didn't win us a championship, but it's been a lot of fun. Mixed in with a lot of really, really horrible shit. But I think that it's time to move on. And I think that, talking about Zoo, I think the only way that I would be comfortable with trading Zoo is if we use the fact that he's young and still has a lot of room to grow, to trade him to a younger team that might be shit this year and might have a good pick. Like, that would, to me, would be the only way that I would be comfortable trading Zoo. Because otherwise, I would love to see Zoo be ushered into this new era and be a part of that. Yeah, I don't know, Rolly. Do you have any closing statements on this, or? Because at the end of the day, we have no idea what the hell is going to happen.
We have no idea.
Something needs to happen.
I just want to see some change made by the next pod, dude. Like, we can't. That
would be sweet for content. We definitely have a lot to talk about.
Content, dude. As a fan.
No, I totally understand.
I don't want to watch us get blown out by the Miami Heat.
It's horrible. It's horrible. It's never. It hasn't felt this low. So the loss that that Lob City took against the Houston Rockets, that was the lowest point for me as a Clipper fan, I think.
Wait,
but this is it.
Oh, back in the day,
2015, I believe. Yeah. But this is a different type of pain, because we're comparing it to all the other, the contrast between the Clippers and the rest of the league is so great that it's a different level of pain. I like I said, I still think that Lob City loss was the greatest amount of pain, because I was young and my hopes were so high and stuff like that. The writing's kind of been on the wall with this 2-1-3 thing for a couple years, so I can't say that I didn't expect it to be somewhat of a letdown. I didn't think it would be this bad, but it feels as bad as. It feels just as bad as anything of this era. I don't know. It's been horrible.
I think the darkest day for me as a Clippers fan was when we blew the 3-1 lead against the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets loss was worse than
the Nuggets one was pretty bad. But to me, I was kind of disengaged just because of the bubble thing. I was like, okay, this is awesome. There's a pandemic happening. I'm desperate to watch basketball, but everything felt a little off to me.
No, dude, I felt like that was easily the Lob City Clippers. I was 99% convinced we were gonna win the chip that year, and then to have it all snatched away was
the problem with Lob City was they were so lovable that it was
Yeah.
even more heartbreaking. Like with the 2-1-3 era, like there was never like,
bro, for me that year and that entire, because right, the first half of the season was like before the bubble. That entire period, that was the first year of Kawhi and Paul George. That entire, from the night, the earthquake, from that earthquake point to
the bubble.
And to the bubble, and to we were it was 3-1. I was 100% positive that we were winning the chip that year. And then to have 100% positivity snatched, to watch Jokic slow ass hit fucking 3-pointers, to watch Doc Rivers not make any adjustments was so heartbreaking, dude. But I mean, I guess sorry to make everything. Sorry to take the episode down a notch, but I mean, we're already
No, yeah, I mean that's good. What is good? Honestly, guys, it's probably what it's going to be like for until something changes, whether the Clippers start winning or whether their big change needs to be made. But yeah, Clipper fans, let us know what you guys think. I think I kind of know the general consensus of most Clipper fans. At the very least, we're all really upset with how this team's looked. And I think everybody would welcome a change, a shift in something. So yeah, Clipper fans, let us know what you guys think. Before we get out of here, Rola, I want you to touch on the sweepstakes real quick. We're going to bring it back up to leave you guys on your merry way. Rola, talk a little bit about the sweepstakes coming up for the Clip Service.
Of course, guys. Just want to make sure you guys remember from the beginning of the pod, we are doing an 8 games of Clipmas sweepstakes where we are giving away sweatshirts and other goodies for every Clippers win during the month of December. So make sure
up until
Christmas. So make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and commenting on the posts or the YouTube posts or our episodes, and we will add you to the sweepstakes, and you can win a Clip Service podcast sweatshirt.
Absolutely, to keep you nice and toasty during the coldest of Clipper winters, because we've been so bad that we're turning down the temperature big time. So yeah, guys, make sure you stay active on social media. Rola will post when the Clippers win, if the Clippers take a win before Christmas. You'll see it on our Instagram. We'll see it on Twitter as well. You guys can get engaged through there, and then we'll enter you guys into the sweepstakes to win some merch. So we want to bring a little bit of positivity, a little Christmas cheer, guys. At the end of the day, it's all going to be better at some point. So we gotta hope that something turns around, guys. But we want to help with that and boost the cheer. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. As Rola said up top, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram and on Twitter at ClipServicePod. You can stream us on most streaming platforms: Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. And then, comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what you guys think. There's a lot to talk about. Most of it negative, but there's a lot to talk about in the Clipper sphere right now. So we want to hear all of that. But yeah, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys make this possible. You guys are the reason why we do this. So thank you guys so much. It ain't no lip service. This has been Clip Service. Rola, tell the people what we got to say.
Go Clippers.
Go Clippers.